Ultimates are the backbone of Overwatch. Some heroes have risky, game-changing ultimates. Other heroes have passive, more supportive ultimates. And some ultimates just suck. But they all have one thing in common. They must be earned before they can be used. So how exactly does this generation of ult charge function? Every hero has an internal counter that tracks their progress towards their ultimate. This value is often referred to as the ultimate cost. The ultimate meter on the HUD reveals your percentage towards filling this internal counter, which is important to note since different heroes have different amounts of charge required to get their ultimate. But this info is meaningless without knowing how this counter is increased. There are 3 ways to generate ult charge. The first is by dealing hero damage. For every 1 point of damage dealt to an enemy hero, your ultimate counter is increased by 1. This 1-to-1 correspondence means you have to deal the amount of damage equal to the ultimate cost to earn your ultimate. But there are exceptions. The hero in hero damage is important, since damaging buildings will not increment the counter. Damaging shields will also not increment the ultimate counter. Dealing damage to Bob won't grant ult charge either. I guess he's not worthy enough to be considered a hero. Damaging Wrecking Ball's shield HP will not generate ult charge, even though shield HP from Lucio's sound barrier will. In Overwatch 2, both of these abilities create green HP called Overhealth, which does not grant ult charge when damaged. Damage done by ultimates does not generate any ult charge. This sounds obvious, but it means Genji cannot earn ult charge by deflecting ultimates. Except when deflecting soldiers, for some reason. Roadhog has an unlisted passive where damage taken yields his attacker 25% less ult charge. In Overwatch 2, this passive is given to all tanks, except it reduces the generated ult charge by 30% instead. Finally, Mercy generates ult charge by damage boosting teammates, but only for the extra damage dealt as a result of the boost. Damage boosting Bob also grants Mercy ult charge this way, so I guess he still is useful after all. With that long list of rules and exceptions out of the way, let's move on to the second method of generating ult charge: healing. Like damage, every 1 point of healing done increments your ultimate counter by 1. Self-healing abilities count towards generating ult charge, but self-healing passives do not. The exception to this rule is that health packs hacked by Sombra do not generate ult charge. They used to in the past, but this was changed for balance reasons. Healing Bob also does not grant ult charge. Healing self-inflicted damage does not generate ult charge. Sorry, scouts, no uber charge building strats here. Healing damage dealt by the environment does not generate ult charge either. Environmental damage is caused by damage triggers, usually placed at the bottom of pits or cliffs within a map. Usually there is no way to survive this, but with Immortality Field, some of these obstacles can be survived, demonstrating that no ult charge is earned by healing this damage. And finally, healing given to tanks in Overwatch 2 will generate 30% less ult charge due to the tank roll passive.
Much obliged.
Last but not least, the final way to generate ult charge is by waiting. Much like how time heals all wounds, ultimates will eventually be bestowed upon the most patient of players. as long as the match lasts that long. Your ultimate counter increases by 5 each second, so it's actually pretty impressive if you can passively generate your ult before the match ends. There are 2 more mechanics that apply to all methods of ult generation. Ultimate charge cannot be earned in any way while your ultimate is active. You must wait for the ultimate to finish before charge can be built. But, as usual, there are ultimates excluded from this rule. Tracer's Pulse Bomb, Hanzo's Dragon Strike, Torbjorn's Molten Core, Bob, and Wrecking Ball's Minefield. And while Echo is using Duplicate, all of these rates are multiplied by 6.5, so you earn ultimate charge just over 6 times quicker than usual. While not relevant in current versions of Overwatch, there used to be one more method of gaining ult charge which I find quite interesting: taking damage. It should be obvious why this was removed. Dealing damage to enemies would empower them by giving them their ult, which is pretty unintuitive. In this clip, the damage received from Tracer's Pulse Bomb is enough to generate 30% of your ultimate. It's around this time that ultimate charge was also earned for shooting shields and buildings, like this Torbjorn turret. Looking back, it's pretty crazy how quickly ultimates could be earned. Now that we know how ultimates are earned, let's look at the actual ultimate cost for each hero. This is the amount of healing or damage each character must deal to get their ultimate, along with how long it would take to get passively. I should mention that these values don't necessarily correlate to how often you'll see each ultimate in-game. Compare Roadhog and Reinhardt, for instance. Although Roadhog's ultimate cost is much higher, he has 2 methods of generating charge: damage and self-healing. Because of this, he can maintain equal ultimate uptime as Reinhardt despite the higher cost. The same applies to Zenyatta and Mercy. Even though Zenyatta has a lower healing output than Mercy, his ultimate cost is higher since he also has a high damage output. And yes, Baby D.Va does have a decimal in her ultimate cost. 319 damage is not enough to regain her mech, but 320 damage is. All of this information is mildly interesting at best in Overwatch 1, but Overwatch 2 is where it becomes genuinely interesting. The new scoreboard displays the exact amount of damage and healing done by each player in the match. This information can be used to determine the ult charge of a player, with the 2 caveats mentioned earlier. Damage and healing done to tanks yields 30% less charge, and damage done to Overhealth yields no charge. Still, knowing these values can be useful if applied correctly. Here are the current ultimate costs in Overwatch 2. Most are the same, but a few heroes have increased costs. The exception is Lucio, who has had his ultimate cost decreased. Sombra's is unchanged, which is surprising since hacking an enemy now allows her to do 40% more damage to her target. Bastion's cost is the same as well, even though his self-healing ability was removed. I suspect these will be adjusted over time, but for now, this is what we have to work with. Until then, get out there and track some ultimates. Wait, the beta's offline? Oh.